Welcome to Better HR in 10 Minutes, where we take an HR question and discuss it in 10 minutes or less from the perspective of an employment law attorney and an EEO trainer. I'm the employment lawyer. I'm Sarah Glasser, and I'm a shareholder at Lloyd Gosling, Rochelle and Townsend in Austin, Texas, where I head up the firm's employment law practice group.
And I'm the trainer. I'm Rodney Klein. I have over 30 years experience working with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and as owner of my own training firm.
So keep in mind the things that Rodney and I talk about today are general information and not legal advice. There's definitely no substitute for an attorney you have hired to represent you. So today, Rodney and I wanted to talk about the concept of similarly situated, which, if you're an attorney watching this, you know that that's a legal defense that comes up when you find yourself in litigation. But if you are an HR professional, you talk to me about that concept when you call me and ask me about some kind of action you want to take, and I ask you the question, well, how have you treated people in this same situation in the past? So Rodney and I want to talk about that. Rodney, I think you were going to tee us up with a scenario.
Yeah, let me pitch this because, obviously when we talk about discrimination issues in the workplace, similarly situated is the key. That's almost, if we're talking about a discipline or discharge case, it's the essence of the investigation. So let me give you this scenario and you tell me what you think. Let's say you got an employee by the name of Bob, and Bob was fired, and he thinks he's fired because of his race. Now you check into it and you find out that Bob was fired because he missed the deadline of a very important report. So you go back in and you look at everybody who's missed that report that does Bob's job over let's say a 5-year period of time, and you find that everybody, regardless of race, who's missed that report, they've all been fired. Now, what conclusion do you draw from that?
Well, it sure sounds like they're similarly situated, but this video would be no fun if that was the case. So tell me what you think.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think this is where most investigators kind of stop. As I say, they look at this and they look at the numbers and they say, well, Bob could not have been discriminated against because of his race. But let's add to this. Let's say, yeah, Bob was late with this report, but Bob was given 50 reports to finish, where everybody else in his department was given 5. Bob was given, let's say, 5 days to finish those reports, where everybody else was given 5 weeks. So, yeah, Bob was way when we talk about the discipline, but was Bob set up to fail? Because as we know, being set up to fail does happen from time to time. And I think sometimes when we look at similarly situated within discrimination investigations, we're good at looking at it superficially, but we probably need to take that extra step to make sure that that individual, the complainant, was similarly situated in their working situation. Do you run across that, Sarah?
Yeah, that comes up because I feel you and I probably play a similar role in answering these types of questions. So oftentimes I'm the one directing the investigation into the question of similarly situated, or the analysis of who is part of our similarly situated group. And so as the person directing that, or as the person deciding who is part of your similarly situated group, or who's part of the group that you're investigating for that, it's our job to make sure that we are looking at the right issues and the right questions. So yes, this comes up, and as the person on the other side of the phone, it's my job to ask the right questions. Okay, well, how many people have been late with the report? Who is their supervisor? What was their workload? Right? And what were the specific circumstances that led to Bob being late with this particular report? And hopefully somebody has spoken to Bob other than the direct supervisor and has given Bob an opportunity to share some of his concerns, because we are to some extent limited in the investigation that we can do, and so it's our job to be creative with it and make sure that we're gathering that information. What kind of guidance do you give to folks who find themselves as the person who is investigating a similarly situated situation.
Right. I think you hit on that, and that is, especially if we're talking about a discipline or discharge case, the best source of information that you're going to have as an investigator will be the complainant. So obviously, when you're talking to the complainant about what happened and how and their working environment, I mean, the big question you're going to ask is, well, why? Why do you think this is connected to discrimination? And a lot of times the person will be able to just kind of tell you, hey, I was set up to fail, or I was given all these reports. I was treated differently in everything that happened there, right? That may be vague, but that kind of gives you an idea that maybe the environment was such that they weren't necessarily supported, that they were kind of left out of the loop, that they were sort of ostracized socially, all of those things that make it possible to set up somebody to fail.
And so what I think I hear you saying is where there's smoke, there might be fire.
Right.
So if you've got someone saying things like that, which is not uncommon to hear. Well, yeah, I was fired for the report, but my circumstances were different than everyone else's, or they treated me. I didn't get the same opportunities as everyone else.
Right.
That's something that you should investigate, and particularly if it's in connection with their termination or some sort of discipline that they've been issued,
Right.
because it can help you uncover a larger problem.
Right. I think that's true. And I think that's one thing that we tend to miss sometimes in similarly situated, because we almost always look at the disciplinary action itself, but we don't necessarily look at the whole picture.
Yep, and that can come back to bite you all the way on the back end.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great insights. Thanks for sharing that. And I think I speak for everybody, but I suspect there are a good number of people who are watching this and thinking, you know what, this is something I need to be a little bit more thoughtful about. So great insights. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And follow us on YouTube. And if you need anything if you have anything that Rodney or I can help with, please don't hesitate to reach out.